xDuoo X5 is a small digital audio player by any standard. I will not be showing you too much of the details and the feature of this because you might have seen my unboxing video on it. But let's just go through some of the important features of this X5 here, starting at the bottom here. As you can see here, this is of course the USB Type-C, which will be used for charging and also for connectivity. And this is a dedicated line out, which is 3.5 mm single-ended termination. And this is the phone out 3.5, and this is 4.4 mm balance. And of course, at the side here, you might notice that this is the red button here. The red button is for on and off, and also for switching off the screen. And this is just for volume up and down. And you might also notice that the absence of play and pause button, because at this side here, we don't have anything aside from this micro SD slot, which will accept up to 1 TB of micro SD maximum. Okay, so it says there, initializing, and at the top here, nothing else. And looking at the screen itself, the LCD display, this is already at maximum. This is the brightness that you'll get under direct lighting. And let's just go with the dimension itself. You see, as I said, it is small. So this is my mobile phone here, which is Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV, side by side. Definitely, it is like very small, visibly smaller, and just slightly thicker than a mobile phone. And comparatively, if I were to put something a lot bigger like my iBusso DX340 here, you can see how gigantic this DX340 is, which is also a lot heavier. And talking about weight, let's just have a look. How light is this thing? Just gonna switch on this. And putting it here, it is quite impressive at 142 gram, which literally makes this way lighter than FiiO JM21, and of course a lot lighter than this half a kilo of iBusso DX340, and perhaps even lighter than my mobile phone, which is at 194 gram. So, like I say, this is super compact, super lightweight, very easy to carry around, and obviously very easy for you to put into your pocket. And this is not an Android digital audio player, but it does have some connectivity here. But I would like to share to you some of the limitation. As you can see here, when connected, when searching for network, it seems to be able to only detect 2.4 gigahertz of Wi-Fi. So it is not detecting any of those Wi-Fi which are, let's say, rated at 5 gigahertz and above. So there's certain limitation to it. And the interface itself, let's just quickly have a look at it. I have a comment here. Let's just have a look at this, scrolling it down. As you can see, these are some of the pull-down menu features, very simple. And in fact, this X5 reminds me a lot to the very old Nokia system. Have a look here, okay? You see that? The interface, the way it behaves, the responses and everything. And just have a look at the product information. So, model xDuoo X5, internal storage 4G, free storage 3.4 gig, which means that you can at least use internal storage up to 4 gigabyte and 3.4 gigabyte usable. I am not using it because I have this micro SD here, which is at around 64 GB, and nothing else. You can also do online update if you are connected to your Wi-Fi. So it will do this. Whenever xDuoo will have an update on this X5, you just simply need to connect it to network. But other than that, honestly, I do not see any kind of usage of Wi-Fi or connectivity here other than updating the software or even some other very limited controls which I have not tried yet. And let's just have a look at some of the important features when it comes to sound. So this is how you arrange your music library. Assuming that the scanning has already been done, the library itself, okay, will show all these features here, starting with song, okay, which means that it will list all the song in alphabetical order, everything that you have on your micro SD, and artist, of course, and then the next one, album, and the next one, by style, which I think will be the genre that you have, and of course, if you have Q file, I don't have Q file. Okay, let's just go back. And ISO file, if you have ISO, which is ripped from CD, and of course built-in storage, which I don't have any. And I actually prefer to use this TF card because in my TF card, I have already made arrangement in such a way that it will be easy for me to sort out my audio so that I can know it will always start with the band name and then the album, so I have an easier view here. But other than that, this is pretty much very simple. So let's just do a playback here. Let's say just take one song here. Okay, just gonna take this, my favorite band here, and this is how it look like, the playback screen. See that? So it will show here the bitrate, the resolution, and of course all the order that which is usual per expected. And while doing this, you can do this. Go to the settings here, right? And then you can actually adjust all the parameters for the playback. For example, like play mode. The good thing about this X5 is that it does offer you this immediate ability to control maximum possible volume. In this case, I always set it to 100 because I don't have any issue with having maximum volume. I would like to have maximum volume. And you can toggle save the volume, meaning that it will always remember the last volume used. And this is the gain control here, which is always permanent on high for me. And it has 3 filters, which is fast roll off, slow roll off, and minimum phase. And all of them are functional. I have tested it. So fast roll off is something which you want to use if you have something which is relatively warm sounding. If you have something which is a bit more neutral, a bit more brighter sounding, that you want to use slow roll off. And if you have something which is, let's say, neutral, transparent, use minimum phase for a bit more of accuracy. And of course, you have other option here. Without a doubt, the most interesting feature in this particular page is the equalizer here, at which I know many people would want to have this. So, as you can see here, you are being provided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 preset of different type of preset equalizer. And starting with popular, sad, classical, jazz, rock, dance, metal, and voice. Now, I am not an EQ person, but I have tried this quite a bit. And I must say that it is quite effective, especially when I use this popular here for pop music, rock obviously, and also jazz. They seem to be quite effective. And if you ever need to do customization a bit further, to do your own kind of sound curve, then you just enable this custom, which will allow you to have 10 band equalizer, which you can easily change like this. And yet again, I just gonna simply say they are also quite effective, drastically changing the sound if you want to, like this. No problem at all. The maximum resolution offered by this X5 is at DSD256 or PCM 384. So let me just give you an example. I do have some library here which contains higher than 256 DSD, something like this from Aisyah Aziz. So what will happen if I try to play something which is beyond 256? Okay, the most interesting thing is that it does try to attempt to play it. As you can see here, it shows 1 bit and it is at very high resolution. But what will happen is that no sound will come out and it is stuttering really bad. Honestly, one thing that I find kind of a bit annoying with this X5, whenever I do this, especially if I browse my micro SD card here, just observe this. You see, I have all these things sorted in my TF card in alphabetical order. And as I try to scroll down, you see, it is attempting to load it up and it is stuttering. So I have difficulty trying to get to the bottom list of my TF card here, which means that at times I just simply gave up trying to scroll down because I am unable to go to the last alphabet, which is Z here. Okay, finally there. So, you know what I mean? It's kind of a bit clunky. So perhaps the best way is just to go back to artists here. I have observed that this X5 have certain limitation when you try to connect an external dongle or DAC amp like this Ibaso Macaron here, like what I'm doing right now. As you can see, once connected, this thing is not even powered up. So which means that this X5 is not designed to work with external DAC amp, anything which is connected via USB. However, you can still use the 3.5mm single-ended aux analog out here. And if I were to connect it to my phone here, it does operate as a dongle itself when connected to a host like this. So just have a look here. As you can see, you can choose USB audio, at which now it will be detected by my phone as a external dongle. Used as a portable device, this X5 here, xDuoo claimed that this thing will be able to withstand or operate in excess of around 10 hours. And I am happy to report that, yes indeed. In fact, I was able to get almost 11 hours. And when it comes to the heat management, it is also seems to be quite impressive, because without a doubt, this X5 here is definitely one of the coolest running digital audio player which I have tested so far. Running my magnetic planar here, which is Yuga Nightingale 4.4 mm balance on high gain, was just at around not exceeding 33C. That is crazy impressive. That is practically the coolest running digital audio player which I have tested so far. Over 2 years ago, many of you might have remembered this xDuoo Link to Balance, which is an extremely popular dongle by xDuoo, and that is without a doubt one of those dongle which made Cirrus Logic CS43131 very popular. It is pretty much the platform where Cirrus Logic started to dominate, because at that point of time it was dominated by ESS Sabre. xDuoo started to change that. So why am I bringing this subject? It is because this X5 here that you see here, it is the same xDuoo Link to Balance that I'm hearing. What I'm trying to say here is that X5 is essentially a dongle linked to balance, blown up to be a full-fledged dedicated DAP like this X5 here. It has that similarities, sound characteristic, the way it presents the dynamic itself, from the upper frequency, lower frequency to the high frequency, everything just sounded neutral, natural, organic, analog sounding, and literally uncolored. It is also very airy and wide sounding with the soundstage itself. I am not hearing any kind of much differences at all. In fact, I would even say that if I were to look at the specification, true indeed, it is pretty much identical precisely with the power itself, which is rated at 270 milliwatt of power at 32 ohm from the 4.4 mm balance. This X5 and Link to Balance share practically the same thing. The single-ended perhaps just slightly a bit boosted, because this now offers 200 milliwatt of power instead of 125. What I'm trying to say here is that they are essentially the same thing. So what it means also is that you can expect excellent sound reproduction, natural as it is organic, analytical, never offensive from this X5. So where does this X5 stands in the competition? With such competition in the market now, seemingly that digital audio players are making a comeback. So let's just have a bit of perspective here. You see, when it comes to this under 200 US dollar, I might be sounding kind of a bit critical here. And if xDuoo is listening to this, first and foremost, I'd like to apologize to them, because I think they should have done quite a bit of research before releasing this. Because for the kind of feature, for the kind of sound performance that it offers, I can simply say that Hi-B R1 easily matches that. Hi-B R1 also uses CS43131, and yet Hi-B R1 was able to do streaming, tidal streaming via the native Hi-B app, and it also can do MSCB, a bit more advanced EQ function, and the list goes on and on. It is also smaller, and it is also lighter, and it is priced at just probably like at around 78, under 80 US dollar, as opposed to this 180 US dollar. Now, that is just purely being objective. I love xDuoo product, but I think that this thing is kind of a bit overpriced. So xDuoo, if you are listening to me, please do a bit more of research. I am not hating you or anything like that. I love xDuoo product, especially xDuoo XD series, the amplifier, especially the tube one. That is an absolute winner to me. And then when we look at that kind of price point, which is under 200 US dollar, JM21 from FiiO is an absolute winner, because JM21 offers 700 milliwatt of power as opposed to this 280, and it is also running on custom Android, which allows you to do a lot more things, tons of things. Okay, so many features and this, and of course there are some other competition like Xiangling M1 Plus, which is priced slightly higher, which is also non-Android. But then again, the whole thing about this digital audio player is that being able to get the most value out of what you are paying. And to me, this X5, as it is now, is meant for very specific sort of target, very specific sort of audience. If you don't have any kind of need for streaming services, if you don't have any kind of need for advanced MSCB or advanced EQ, then I would say the X5 definitely meets the bill because it has excellent battery, it has the excellent rendering of sound, which is pretty much similar to Link to Balance. This is definitely very easy to carry around as opposed to the other digital audio player. But then again, I would even say that R1 is also even easier to carry around. So that's pretty much how I see it when it comes to this X5. Thank you so very much for watching the video until the end. Without skipping, I hope. Now click like and subscribe, and also follow me on Instagram under the name of AndyAV. And also, if you'd like to support me directly, because all of my videos and reviews are unpaid, I am not earning anything, you can join the membership below for behind the scene, especially for AAV Insider and above, which will allow you to see what I am doing behind the scene. And I will share some of the items which I would normally not share in the public.